Let me tell you something that's going to make you uncomfortable. The women you're texting back instantly, they're losing attraction every single time you hit send. The girl you're pouring your heart out to. She's thinking about the guy who barely responds. And that nice guy energy you think makes you different. It's the exact reason she sees you as a friend. I know, it stings. But stick with me for the next 15 minutes, because what I'm about to reveal will completely change how you understand women, attraction, and why you've been playing the game on hard mode your entire life. This isn't about tricks. This isn't about manipulation. This is about understanding the psychology that's been hidden from you since you were a kid. Let's begin. Here's the problem. Society has been lying to you since day one. They told you to be nice, to be available, to show her how much you care, to communicate your feelings, to be vulnerable early, to prove your worth by doing more, giving more, showing up more. And what happened? You did all of it. You were the perfect gentleman. You listened to her problems. You replied to every text within seconds. You made yourself completely available. You showed her you'd never hurt her. And she friend-zoned you. Or worse, she lost interest completely and started dating a guy who treats her like an option. You're sitting there confused, frustrated, maybe even bitter. And I get it, because you followed the rules. And the rules failed you. But here's what nobody tells you. Attraction isn't logical. It's not a reward for good behavior. It's not something you negotiate or earn through kindness points. Attraction is psychological, it's emotional, it's primal, and it operates on principles that most men are completely blind to. Today, I'm going to walk you through the real psychology behind female attraction and obsession. Not the sanitized, politically correct version. The raw, uncomfortable truth that actually works in the real world. And I'm going to challenge you. Because if you're serious about becoming a man, women actually want, not just tolerate. You need to hear this. Ready? Let's go. Principle 1. Silence creates obsession. Here's something most men completely misunderstand. When you stop talking, she starts thinking. Think about your texting habits. When she sends you a message, what do? You probably respond immediately. You keep the conversation going at all costs. You panic when there's a gap in the chat because you think silence means she's losing interest. Wrong. Here's the psychological reality. Constant availability kills attraction. When you're always there, always responding, always filling the void, you become predictable. And predictability is the death of desire. Women are wired for curiosity. Their minds are designed to solve puzzles, to figure out what you're thinking, to wonder where you are and what you're doing. But when you give them complete access to you 24/7, there's nothing left to wonder about. No mystery, no tension, no obsession. Silence creates a vacuum. And that vacuum gets filled with thoughts about you. Let me give you an example. Two guys are texting the same girl. Guy A responds within 30 seconds every single time. He's always available. He never leaves her on red. He's the good communicator. Guy B, he's busy. He responds when he feels like it. Sometimes that's 3 hours later. Sometimes it's the next day. Not because he's playing games, but because he has a life. He has priorities. He doesn't drop everything for a text notification. Who do you think she's thinking about at 11 p.m. before she falls asleep? It's Guy B every single time. Because his silence made her curious. His absence created space. And in that space, her mind started filling in the blanks, wondering what he's doing, who he's with, whether he's thinking about her. Here's your challenge. Stop being so damn available. Stop responding instantly. Stop keeping conversations alive when they naturally die. Let the silence breathe. Let her wonder, let her chase, and watch how everything changes. Principle 2. Indifference is magnetic. This one's going to hurt. The less you care about the outcome, the more she'll care about you. Most men approach women from a place of scarcity. They meet a girl they like, and suddenly, she becomes the center of their universe. Every decision gets filtered through, what will she think? Every text is analyzed, every interaction is high stakes, and she feels it. That desperation, that neediness, that unspoken message screaming, please pick me, please validate me, please make me feel worthy. It's repulsive, not because there's something wrong with her, but because desperation signals low value on a biological level. Here's the truth. Attraction flows toward those who don't need it. When you genuinely don't care whether she stays or leaves, whether she texts back or not, whether she chooses you or someone else, that indifference creates a gravitational pull. How why? Because it communicates abundance. It says, I have options. I have a life. I have self-respect. You're not the only source of my happiness or validation. And that's incredibly rare. Most men she meets are trying way too hard. They're performing. They're auditioning for her approval. They're bending over backwards to prove themselves. But you're different. You're outcome independent. You're not attached to winning her over. And ironically, that's exactly what makes you different from every other guy in her phone. Let me be clear. Indifference doesn't mean being cold or disrespectful. It means having genuine self-worth that isn't dependent on her reaction. It means you're just as happy alone as you are with her. It means you can walk away without your ego collapsing. Think about the last time you dealt with a salesperson who really needed to close the deal. You could smell the desperation, right? It made you want to walk away. Now think about the salesperson who genuinely didn't care if you bought or not. They were helpful, confident, but not pushy. How did that feel? More attractive, right? You probably bought something. Same principle applies to attraction. Your challenge: stop putting women on pedestals. Stop acting like she's your only option. Stop measuring your value by her response. Build a life so rich, so purposeful, so fulfilling that any woman is lucky to be part of it, but not necessary for it. That's when you become truly magnetic. Principle 3. Walking away shows power. Here's a hard truth most men refuse to accept. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is leave. Not because you're playing games, not because you're trying to manipulate, but because you have boundaries, standards, self-respect. Most guys think that sticking around, no matter how poorly they're treated, is what proves their value. Look how patient I am. Look how much I can tolerate. Look how devoted I am. Wrong, dead wrong. Staying when you're disrespected doesn't make you loyal. It makes you a doormat. And women don't obsess over doormats. They wipe their feet on them. Here's the psychological principle. Scarcity increases value. When you're always there, always forgiving, always coming back, you teach her that your presence has no cost. She can treat you however she wants, and you'll still be there. But when you walk away, when you establish that your time, energy, and respect are non-negotiable, everything shifts. Suddenly she realizes what she's losing. Suddenly you're not guaranteed. Suddenly she has to actually value you or risk losing you permanently. And that's when obsession begins. Let me give you a real example. A guy I know dated a girl who constantly flaked on him. She'd make plans, cancel last minute, reschedule, cancel again. He kept accepting it because he liked her and thought patience would win her over. Spoiler, it didn't. She kept flaking because there were no consequences. Finally, after the fourth cancellation, he didn't argue, didn't guilt trip her, didn't ask for an explanation. He just said, "No worries, take care," and stopped reaching out. 2 weeks later, she's blowing up his phone, asking to meet, apologizing, suddenly making herself available. What changed? He showed her that his presence wasn't guaranteed, that he had self-respect, that he was willing to walk away. And that triggered something primal in her, the fear of loss. Now, I'm not saying you should walk away as a tactic. I'm saying you should be genuinely willing to walk away if someone doesn't meet your standards. That's the difference between manipulation and self-respect. If she's inconsistent, disrespectful, dishonest, or low effort, you don't stick around hoping she changes. You leave, not out of anger, not to punish her, but because you value yourself too much to accept less than you deserve. And when you do that consistently, you'll notice something. Women start treating you differently because they know you're not like other guys. You're not desperate. You're not negotiable. You're a man who knows his worth and won't settle. And that's irresistible. 4. Mystery beats transparency. Let me hit you with something counterintuitive. The more she knows about you, the less interested she becomes. I know. Modern dating advice tells you to be an open book, to communicate everything, to share your feelings, your fears, your vulnerabilities right away. But here's the problem. Full transparency kills attraction. Why? Because women are biologically wired to be attracted to challenge, to depth, to men who can't be figured out in one conversation. When you reveal everything, your entire life story, your insecurities, your daily routine, your future plans, within the first few dates, there's nothing left to discover. No layers to peel back. No mystery to unravel. And without mystery, there's no obsession. Think about your favorite movie or TV show. What keeps you hooked? It's the unanswered questions, the suspense, the slow reveal. If everything was explained in the first 10 minutes, would you keep watching? Hell no. Same principle applies to you. The most attractive men aren't the ones who overshare. They're the ones who reveal themselves slowly, strategically, in layers. They have depth. They have interests she doesn't know about. They have parts of their life that remain private, sacred, untouchable. Not because they're hiding something, but because they understand that mystery creates curiosity, and curiosity creates desire. Here's an example. You're on a date. She asks what you did last weekend. Most guys will give a detailed breakdown. Oh, I went to the gym, then grabbed lunch at this place, then watched Netflix, then went to bed early. Boring, predictable, no mystery. Now imagine this. I had an interesting Saturday. Worked on a project I'm excited about. Pause. Let her ask. Let her wonder. Don't volunteer every detail. When you do this, her mind starts working. What project? Why is he excited? What's he not telling me? And suddenly, she's thinking about you hours after the date ends. Here's the key. Mystery isn't about lying or being evasive. It's about having a rich internal world that doesn't need to be broadcasted. It's about being comfortable with silence. It's about letting her earn access to deeper parts of you over time. When you do this, you become infinitely more interesting than the guy who dumps his entire autobiography on the first date. Your challenge: stop oversharing. Stop explaining yourself constantly. Stop seeking validation through transparency. Have boundaries around your inner world. Make her work to understand you. And watch how her curiosity turns into obsession. Principle 5. Purpose trumps attention. Here's the uncomfortable truth that nobody wants to tell you. Women don't want to be your purpose. They want to be part of a man who already has one. Think about how you've approached relationships in the past. You meet a girl you like and suddenly she becomes your primary focus, your mission, your reason to wake up. Everything else, your goals, your hobbies, your friends, your ambitions, takes a back seat. And at first, she might enjoy the attention. But eventually, she loses respect for you. Why? Because a man without purpose is unattractive on a fundamental level. Women are evolutionarily wired to be attracted to men who are going somewhere. Men who have a mission larger than just getting the girl. Men who are building something, creating something, pursuing something meaningful. Not because women are shallow or materialistic, but because a man with purpose signals stability, ambition, direction, and strength. When your life revolves around her, you become low value. You become replaceable. Because if she's the center of your universe, what happens when she leaves? You collapse. And nobody wants to be with someone whose entire existence depends on them. But when you have a clear purpose, a career you're passionate about, a business you're building, a skill you're mastering, a cause you're dedicated to, you become gravitationally attractive. She sees a man who's busy, a man who's driven, a man who has things to do besides texting her every 5 minutes. And that makes her want to be part of your world, not the other way around. Let me tell you about a guy I respect deeply. He's a software engineer working on his own startup. He's in the gym 5 days a week. He mentors younger guys in his field. He reads obsessively. And yes, he has a girlfriend who adores him. But here's the thing. She's not his purpose. She's a complement to a life he was already building. And because of that, she doesn't take him for granted. She knows he doesn't need her to be happy. He chose her, but he doesn't revolve around her. And that creates a dynamic where she's constantly working to add value to his life. Not out of fear, but out of genuine respect and admiration. Compare that to the guy whose entire day is structured around when she's free, who cancels plans with friends to be available for her, who stops pursuing his goals because she needs attention. That guy? She'll lose attraction to him fast because he's proven that he's willing to sacrifice his own life for her approval. And that's not attractive. It's sad. Here's your challenge. Build a life so compelling that women are honored to be part of it. Pursue your goals with relentless focus. Train your body. Develop your skills. Invest in yourself. Create something meaningful. And when a woman enters your life, she should feel like she's joining a mission, not becoming one. That's when obsession happens. Not because you're chasing her, but because she's chasing a man who's actually going somewhere. Principle 6. Emotional control is king. Let me be brutally honest. If you can't control your emotions, you can't control your relationships. Most men are emotional volcanoes. They explode when things don't go their way. They panic when she doesn't text back. They get jealous, possessive, needy, or angry at the smallest perceived slight. And women, they lose attraction instantly. Why? Because emotional instability signals weakness. It signals that you can't handle pressure, that you're reactive, not grounded, that you're a boy in a man's body. Here's the truth. Women are attracted to emotional stability. They want a man who can remain calm when she's chaotic, who doesn't lose his cool when she tests him, who operates from a place of quiet confidence, not reactive insecurity. Think about it. Who's more attractive? The guy who sees her talking to another man and immediately gets jealous, confrontational, and insecure? Or the guy who observes, stays calm, and trusts his own value? The second guy. Every time. Because emotional control demonstrates mastery. It shows that you're not ruled by your feelings, that you can think clearly under pressure, that you're secure in yourself regardless of external circumstances. And that's incredibly rare. Most men are slaves to their emotions, reacting impulsively, seeking validation, needing constant reassurance. But when you develop emotional control, you become like a rock, unmoved by drama, unfazed by tests, grounded in your own reality, and women are drawn to that like a magnet. Here's a practical example. She cancels plans last minute. Most guys would react, get upset, send a passive-aggressive text, demand an explanation, or worse, start an argument. But a man with emotional control? He simply says, "No problem. Have a good night," and goes about his life. He doesn't let her flakiness disrupt his emotional state. He doesn't give her the satisfaction of knowing she rattled him. And guess what happens? She respects him more, because he didn't react like every other guy would. He didn't give her power over his emotions. Your challenge: master your emotional responses. Stop reacting impulsively. Stop seeking validation through her reactions. Develop the ability to remain calm, composed, and grounded, regardless of what she does or says. Train yourself in emotional discipline the same way you'd train your body in the gym. And when you do, you'll become the kind of man women can't stop thinking about, because you're unlike anyone else they've ever met. Principle 7. Tension beats comfort. Here's something most men get completely backwards. Comfort kills attraction. Tension creates it. You've been taught to make her feel comfortable, to be safe, predictable, easy, to remove all uncertainty and make yourself as non-threatening as possible. And that's exactly why she's not attracted to you. Here's the psychological reality. Attraction thrives on tension, on uncertainty, on the push and pull dynamic that keeps her emotionally engaged. When you make everything too easy, too predictable, too comfortable, you become boring. There's no emotional charge, no excitement, no spark. But when you create tension, through teasing, through unpredictability, through maintaining your own frame, you keep her emotionally invested. Think about it. When was the last time you felt intense attraction? It probably wasn't for someone who agreed with everything you said, who was always available, who never challenged you. It was for someone who kept you guessing, who pushed back, who had their own opinions, who created emotional peaks and valleys instead of flat, boring consistency. That's tension. And it's what makes attraction electric. Here's an example. You're texting her, and she makes a playful jab at you. Most guys would either get defensive or immediately reassure her that they're not offended. Wrong move. Instead, you lean into it. You tease back. You create banter. You show her that you're not fragile, that you can handle being challenged, that you're confident enough to play in that space. That creates tension, and tension creates chemistry. Now, I need to be clear. Tension isn't about being an asshole. It's not about being mean or disrespectful. It's about maintaining your frame, having opinions, not being a pushover, and creating dynamic interactions instead of boring, agreeable ones. Your challenge: stop trying to make her comfortable all the time. Stop agreeing with everything. Stop being overly nice and accommodating. Have opinions. Push back playfully. Create banter. Keep her emotionally engaged. And watch how attraction intensifies when you stop playing it safe. Let me bring this all together. You've been lied to. Society, movies, romantic comedies, well-meaning but clueless advisors. They all told you that being nice, available, and transparent is the path to a woman's heart. But the reality? Women don't obsess over men who worship them. They obsess over men who master themselves. They're drawn to silence, not constant chatter, to indifference, not desperation, to men who walk away, not men who beg to stay, to mystery, not total transparency, to purpose, not neediness, to emotional control, not reactive chaos, to tension, not comfort. And here's the hardest part. You can't fake this. You can't technique your way into becoming this man. You have to actually become him. That means doing the internal work, building real confidence, developing genuine self-respect, creating a life of purpose, training your mind and body, becoming a man of value, not just to attract women, but to respect yourself. Because here's the ultimate truth. When you become a high-value man, when you genuinely embody these principles, attraction becomes a natural byproduct. Women start chasing you, not because you're manipulating them, but because you're rare, because you're different, because you're actually worth obsessing over. So here's my challenge to you. Stop playing by the old rules. Stop being the nice guy who finishes last. Stop seeking validation from women who don't respect you. Instead, build yourself, master yourself. Become the man who doesn't need anyone, but who everyone wants to be around. Do that, and I promise you, everything changes. Now go out there and become that man. The world needs more of us.